Evening, guys, and I'm back with a live broadcast. I'm playing Done for Ages. So first thing is I'll open up this so I can actually see what you guys are commenting about. I just thought I'd do a live chat. I haven't done one for a while, and just talk about stuff in general. Still, a few people ask me about what's going on with going back to the Philippines. That it is going through. What happened was the April's mother's passport. Frustrated is not the word. The week before, you're supposed to. Got the appointment at the Spanish embassy. She noticed they got her name back to two letters back to front, the I and the T in her name, Judith. So we had to get the passport done, which took another 10 days. But then you have to reschedule pretty much the hotel, the flights, the embassy booking. So it's all for next month now, but it's getting there. You've got to sit there sometimes and just go, okay, it is what it is. Hey, Jet Black. Hello, Matt. G Night, man. Yeah. Well, it's 1 a.m. here. So I'm just getting ready to go to bed. I'm just sorting some stuff out on one of my servers. So I thought I'd have a live chat. I've been quite busy. I've been doing a lot of stuff on blockchain technology and crypto. It was something I was just talking about with a couple of people about 20 minutes ago, because the market's about a bit of a downturn, but they're actually recovering at the minute. So I actually took it as a bit of a respite from trading to actually get educated a bit better on the blockchain. Here's Dale. Hi, Matt. It's Dale. Thank you very much for the videos discussing the topics that I bring up. Yeah, not a problem. I know sometimes I get flack for people, but some people forget that a lot of the questions are very specific, and they're just like covering specific topics. So sometimes they may not like to hear the topics, but at the end of the day, they've got to be discussed in some form. I mean, when I started this channel, I was getting, oh, you're so negative on the Philippines. It's not being negative. There's plenty of people out there that say Boracay stuff, and well, let's skip over Boracay right now because it's not doing as well as it was. But the point being is all the Kodak smiles and the everything's awesome stuff. That's not me. I'm more specific in just talking about the realities. You know, at the end of the day, part of this is not that I'm trying to say this is this. It's more a case of this is from my experience, this is from my knowledge, this is from people I know, this is from people I've heard of doing this. But the whole point is for everybody just to grab the information, absorb it, and this is what I say, not just from me, but from others as well, to get the best informed information you can get so you can make the best decisions yourself. Because ultimately, all this stuff is your own decisions, and that's the important bit. Jet Black, my girlfriend is Filipino as well and plan to marry her. I'm Spanish, 24. Hey, how you doing? Whereabouts are you in Spain? I'm up near Torrevieja. Yeah, just south of Alicante on the coast. Yeah, well, you probably coming to Spain is not as difficult as the UK. I'm not even going to mention Brexit today. I just did, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, the Philippines for me, I think, is a good place to actually get some real world experience, knowledge, and expand your mind a lot, because you have so many things that are not nanny state. I mean, I know some of this has changed since I've been there. You know, like I think they actually make you wear a motorcycle helmet now, where before it's more like you put it on when you went to the city. Outside the city, nobody cared. But the point being is that you made your own decisions. Now, some of the decisions are stupid. You know, at the end of the day, I do stupid stuff now and again. I fell off the back of a bus before, hanging on the back, something you're not supposed to do. Lost 2 badminton rackets. But at the same time, that's my own fault. It's nice to actually be able to do stupid stuff sometimes. Dale, I agree, Matt. A lot of times, like you said, people dwell on the negative. I had myself I have myself, instead of manning up and admit they done wrong, like my ex is a learning experience, and I wish her well. Yeah, I mean, I have no bitterness to my ex partner in the UK, that because I've got a daughter in the UK. Um, I I mean, the bizarre thing is, I'll be honest with you. The thing is, she hasn't changed, and I noticed it from her husband and whatever. And it's not me being negative, but I just thought she hasn't changed from the stuff she was doing before. It seems like he's more accommodating with me, you know. So I have no issue with it. I wish him well. I wish him well. But yeah, I've no bitterness or whatever. You learn from experience, and as long as you get the experience and come out ahead, then that's fine. You know, at the end of the day, we could all sit in a nanny state. I mean, it's like if you look at the crypto markets right now, there's a lot of legislation and stuff being pushed to try and curtail the growth of the crypto markets. It's all like, oh, people aren't informed enough. All this. Hey, you know, at the end of the day, I'm for people being able to work things out for themselves. I do understand that there has to be some regulations and things, but as Jet Black knows well, here in Spain, there's a lot of stuff you wish they actually regulated properly. Matt, why Western, we naturally tend to be so individual and selfish? Yeah, I mean, it is a bit like that. I think it's very strange. I come from a military family. So I was actually brought up where everyone sort of functions as a group. So it was never actually about me. It was like you function as a group. So it's always for the benefit of everybody. But I do find that things have become very socially disconnected, to the point where I don't even really understand some of the stuff, like the stuff that's going on in London at the moment, where stabbings and things. I don't even understand where people get the mentality that this is normal. But I could see, going back probably about 12 years ago, I was watching a CCTV footage of, they were explaining about this. There was two guys stabbed with screwdrivers, and they basically, the people that did it killed them. They couldn't care less, they're going to jail. But it also connected in the sense that I could see why there was so much violence, even where I was living at the time, on a Friday night and Saturday night. A lot of people have seasonal jobs. They have no guarantee of work next week. Agency working is being pushed. You have a lot of people that will never own their own home. They have a lot of social disconnects, divorced families, a lot of bad stuff, but very little showing them there is something better in life. You know, at the end of the day, buying your own home, how do you get from A to B? It's always pushed. The value of this house is X. The value of this is this. It's all going up in price. There is no connection that there is a big problem. In the engineering sector in the UK, the wages, I mean, I see some of the wages come through, and I'm thinking that hasn't gone up since '97. And you're looking at these guys, you got agents telling you it's a great job. It's like you're having a laugh. People can't even afford to live on those wages. Dale, I have no doubt that my ex is asking other foreigners to send money online. I don't agree with it, but if they're foolish enough to do it, that's their problem. Yeah, there is a lot of people who get into those things, and I do recommend just sidestep it. Same with getting into any of the conflict stuff. She ain't going to change. I mean, you could actually go through the whole realms of exposing her and making it near impossible for her to do it. But even then, I think a lot of people need to wake up to the fact that there's a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of people that abuse people. A lot of people see that they're working, they're going to work every day, and then their neighbor and their mother are sitting exploiting guys on the internet and making more money than they have done for a 12-hour shift. And then you're sitting there going, one of us is doing something right and one of us is doing it wrong. Who's who? Gene Valek. Hi, Matt. Good morning from Canada. Hey, how's it going? Um, Dale, I'm with you, Matt. All this stabbing in, that to me is part of the stupid street image, the crap that I always cringe when it says I'm from the streets. Yes, I'm with you on that, but I do think, I mean, when I was at Brixton Prison, I did a survey on Brixton Prison years ago. One of the guys that was my escort inside the prison, he does mentoring within the communities, and he was saying one of the big problems there is it's not good to actually be good at something. You know, if you're good at sports or good at mathematics or something, it's sort of frowned upon. Is if you're doing something wrong by actually being good at something. I don't even understand when that reversed. I don't. Something went badly wrong over the years, but that sort of connection is very different to my upbringing because I went to military schools where we were actually pushed to actually be better in ourselves, but also from a competitive point. We don't have everybody's a winner. We only have people that have won. It doesn't mean anybody's counted as a loser or something. It just means that the person who won. The rest of the people didn't win. That's it. But the emphasis sort of changed where we can't have anybody that loses. But it must be pushed by people that think that there was actually people that pushed that element. You don't get a badge for losing. You don't get a badge for a certificate or a gold star or whatever for losing. You don't get nothing. But that's life. And I think that's where some of this fundamental stuff changed because they didn't recognize achievement anymore. It become everybody's the same. I mean, we're doing this thing in Spain at the moment relating to the mathematics that was done for people that couldn't do maths. But in Valencia, they rolled it out right across the schools. It's rubbish. It's too long-winded. It's not. It's nowhere near as good as traditional maths. Maths is not supposed to be easy, but once you get it ingrained and you start working it, you learn from it and it just becomes part of you. If you're crap at maths, doesn't mean that you'll never learn it. And this is why something like this would be good for people that don't understand mathematics, because that's what it's designed for. It's written by people that don't understand maths. But if you do understand maths, you're being penalized because they suffered as a child not understanding maths. So now they've brought everybody down to that level. Jet Black, I was thinking a bit more conservative since I'm with my Filipino girlfriend. Can it be possible more like saving money, trying to work harder, and being a good man? Yeah, it all comes down to, from my personal view, communication. You've got to drive the communication. A lot of people don't, and this is why they end up with problems they put off, and it just gets bigger and bigger. You know, they go, oh, my parents need this, or somebody's sick, or that, and you go, okay, I'll give you some money. And then they say, oh, my brother's girlfriend's uncle's sick. Oh, okay, I'll give. You've got to avoid all that stuff. You've got to do it early on and just sidestep it all completely. You know, you just got to move away from it. Because that way you're getting yourself out of the arguments at the beginning when it's small amounts, but also there's not 200 people that are suddenly seeing an ATM at the end of the street. So yeah, you've got to be careful with that. There you go. Yeah, it's good. Jet Black's partner's already got a Spanish passport, so that's even easier. You know, so that takes a lot of the heartache and the headaches out of moving to the West. Well, I know a lot of people move to the Philippines with no intention coming back to the West, but things do change. You know, at the end of the day, like us, we got kids. So, you know, the kids, bringing them back to Europe was important for them to give them a better future, you know, because for a start, they're multilingual now. But there's many other benefits from being in Spain. So, yeah, from that point of view, I do think, yeah, you even if you don't plan on it, sometimes you never know what's going to happen. I was planning to come back to Europe, by the way. I wasn't going to the Philippines permanently, but ending up in Spain was not something I'd planned. I don't even know I was going to go back to the UK. I think I was actually more in line with going to Germany because I like Germany. Alan Daniels, hey, Matt, Colorado Springs. Hey, how's it going? Hope everything's well. Dale, I could expose my girlfriend, but like you said, it's kind of pointless and let her do her thing. I sometimes get the feeling that her sister thinks the world owes them something when I was there. You're not alone in that, Dale. You're not alone. And some of that is the problem. The problem with society in the fact that it's not just in this scenario. I know of people that have got relatives that have had similar problems where their sister or brother or whatever works in the house, been given a job because they're too lazy to go and work themselves, but then seem to spend half their life on the sofa. That is sometimes ingrained with some of the people. My personal view on that, sack them and throw them out. At the end of the day, they're just going to be a constant drain, because as long as somebody else is carrying them, they'll just keep reinforcing the fact that you've been so unfair by giving them a roof, money, and food on the table. You're the selfish guy, because there's nothing in their head that's actually said the reverse. And some of this is actually brought from other relatives that are OFWs, etc., that send money to them that have sustained them in a level of benefit in the same way I mean, in the UK, you get into the benefit system. Some people are quite happy at that level. I know some people give me a backlash and say it's not that comfortable on it. There's a lot of people that are comfortable on it and they know how to work the system, etc. So there is a certain point where they do think they're entitled to it, and it's some sort of a right. It's not a privilege. It's some sort of right for some bizarre reason. But yeah, it's something I do have a serious issue with, because I'm a strong believer in everybody should work for the benefit of the family or whatever. Even for themselves, do something. That's the important bit. Dan F, hi, my friend. Hey, how's it going? Jet Black, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Matt, because I learned a lot from your videos. Honestly, thank you and good night. Hey, I appreciate it, and thank you for the comment. I do appreciate that. Yeah, and good luck with the relationship. Hopefully we'll get you on a live chat, and if you're in my area, can meet up for a coffee or a beer. Probably a coffee these days, cutting down on the beer. Dale, yeah, Matt, I don't regret it, because pointless regretting it. I learned a lot and I wish her well, but I'm also done with her and her family. You've got to move past it. See, this is the thing. A long time ago, I recognized, even for myself, that you end up dwelling on stuff, especially if people keep reinforcing it. It's like a friend of mine he divorced his wife. His wife was not a good wife. I'll be polite, but I won't get into the main bits of the story. But the point being, he come from a Greek family. So they hadn't been married very long, but let's just say he'd got a loan from his dad for the deposit for the house. He'd been working and paying the mortgage off. He then got married. She ended up with half the house. Out of his half, he had to pay his dad the deposit back, and he ended up with no money out of it. But the point being is, every time he meets his family, they would actually turn around and say to him, you know what, if you were still married now, you would still have your house. Now, for me, that's an example of somebody that reinforces something you're trying to forget. And I do recommend, if people do that to you, just tell them, don't bring it up anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know it. That's in the past. What's past is past. Just move past it. We learn from experience. But yeah, because I mean, he would tell me about it because we're friends, because he couldn't say a lot to his family, but he would actually say it to me privately. But the point being, it was all down to the fact that they seen that he married, because in their family they don't have any divorces. So it was a very difficult one for him, in the sense that he had to get divorced, but it was a whole ream of other stuff that went on that made it very, very difficult for him to actually keep the marriage going anyway. His wife was going through some breakdown issues and stuff. But anyway, moving aside from that, anything else anybody would want to talk about? I'll tell you what I did do today, though. I went and got my eyes tested because I broke my glasses. One of the arms fell off, which it's probably a sign I should have got my eyes tested a year ago. That my glasses have now broken. But it was interesting in the sense that I went for a test here, and they were far more thorough than they were in the UK. They've actually picked up that I've got some cataract issues that actually come from the desert. Because they were asking about certain things. They actually identified whatever it was, and he said, "Have you been in the desert?" You actually recognized, because everything else was no, it's not medical. Because I don't do any medication. I actually avoid any medication whatsoever, even antibiotics. Half the time I don't take them. But the point being is, it looks like my time in the desert has actually damaged my eyes in some form. But my vision, long distance, fine. But computer screen is my nightmare. Is because I can't read anymore at short distance. It's frustrating. I've got to admit, if there's one thing I could probably change now, is probably being able to have my vision back. That's the one thing that is the major issue with me. I can't read most books now. I can't read. I can read newspapers, but I get frustrated trying to read a book in print. I actually have to put it on the computer screen because I just feel bit frustrated that you've lost the vision that you used to have. A bit frustrated on that one. Dale, what's your view on Filipinos' level of maturity? I learned from the first day they would laugh at things that wouldn't even budge me. The laughing thing is more of a cultural thing, in the sense that I've lived in Germany. I've lived in various places around the world. Humor is one of those things that will always be very different country to country. But also, if it's in, for example, Bisaya, the joke can be very, very funny in Bisaya, but when translated to English, it's not funny at all. It just doesn't make any sense. But in Bisaya, people are in hysterics because it has some meaning beyond what we can comprehend from the translation. But yeah, humor is very funny. I find German humor is quite funny as well, in the sense that it's very different. But yeah, I think it's some of the jokes are, especially daytime TV, is driven in a way that is not for of a higher level of maturity. That's for sure. You know, when you get TV shows going beep, beep, and all these funny noises between people talking, it's like, are people's attention spans that slow or small that you have to make all these sounds in between speaking? Because for me, it's just annoying. But people love it. You know, Wow Wow Wee was a big show. I don't know what they've done with that now, but that was absolutely terrible TV. But people love it. I don't know why, but hey ho, we live and learn. And TV shows were like cartoons. Nothing wrong with a good sense of humor, but one might misunderstand a Filipino joke. Yeah, that's it. A lot of the jokes can be difficult to understand, and that's what I was saying. It's not. Sometimes it's not logical when you try to translate it directly. It's the same as there are certain things in Filipino logic that wouldn't match up with Western logic in many ways, because of certain ways people think or work or whatever. Like in the UK, if I said to somebody, "I'm not coming to work today because it's raining," my boss would probably go, "Well, don't bother coming in at all, ever." But in the Philippines, a lot of people get fevers and other things that are connected with it, plus the roads full of 1 foot of dirty water that's blown out of the sewers, etc. I can understand why some people don't want to go to work when it's heavy rain, because they'll be sick for 3 or 4 days afterwards if they do. So sometimes there is logic to it, but if you look at it purely from a Western point of view, often it doesn't make any sense. But there is other things that need explaining, because even I've had things before where I've said, so somebody said something and I just thought, well, that's stupid, and I've said it to somebody else and it's gone, oh yeah, and it made perfect sense to them, but to me it was completely illogical. But you can't win them all. Jean Valek, imagine Adam and Eve. If Eve is a Filipina, she would still be jealous of other women. I think there is some of that issues with a lot of women, but the guys are just as bad. The guys are just as bad. I brought it up before relating to when my wife was back in the Philippines. When they have a night out, when one of their friends comes back from overseas, they always ask my wife, "Well, your husband lets you out?" It's like, well, yeah, because well, I'll say we're normal. That's unfair because a lot of their husbands, no way would they be allowed out. Not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just the fact is the guys are just as jealous. So it's a two-way street on that one. Dale, Matt, I also enjoy reading. You ever read Banged Up Abroad? People arrested in other countries. One in Philippines, also South America. The funny thing with the one in the Philippines, there was one relating to a guy that allegedly was kidnapped in Cebu, and I found that one a little bit bizarre, and it does seem that it's very questionable and may not actually be true at all. But yeah, I've seen Banged Up Abroad. I've seen the ones where there was the two missionaries that were kidnapped off one of the islands, and I think the wife survived, but the husband died. But yeah, it's it can be a bit grim, that's for sure. Dale, yeah, when I was there, the first time I misunderstood a joke, which I took as an insult. I felt bad after. I was just took back by his joke. I did the same with the barber because I always pay twice as much for the barber. And then when when he asked for where his present was for Christmas, I'm just like, what? But it seems quite common, where people are, because the sort of response should have been, well, it's the same place you put mine, that's the sort of response should have been. But I was more like, I was overpay you and you're asking me for a present now, that you've been coming here for the last year or so. And it's like, what? Yeah. So yeah, that's why sometimes you got to be careful, because they don't, at the end of the day, even when people do stuff, they're often, not looking to. I mean, even if you catch somebody stealing, sometimes they'll just stand and laugh or smile or whatever. Sometimes better off just to say, "Look, just put it back and leave," rather than make a big issue out of it. Because sometimes it's just better to get rid of them. And that's what I normally do. I catch people doing stuff, I'll just get rid of them. Because if they lose face, it can be more difficult than anything else. Because for some reason they blame you for it, like a child would. It's your fault you've caught them stealing. It's some stupid stuff goes on like that. But for me, it's much better just to get your stuff back and just throw them out, get rid of them, and move past it. It just ain't worth the hassle. And obviously, if your neighbors ask why you sacks, whatever, you tell them, because at the end of the day, they'll disappear and they'll be telling everybody something completely different. But we live and learn. Yeah, Dale. Yes, Cebu Banged Up Abroad. He apparently had out-of-body experience, like you said, could be fake. Yeah, I would say very likely that one's fake, because I don't think they could locate anybody on the ones that helped him at the end either. My ex-girlfriend's sister joked about me bringing her son to England. I thought she was trying to have me over. There would be people that would actually do that. I'll tell you that now. The first thing is they would be dumping the responsibility onto you, but also you'd be looking at they would probably try and get themselves there on the back of them coming over as well, so as being the mother. But a lot of it, they don't think that far ahead often, because a lot of people do not understand the visa issues. Even from a Western perspective, a lot of people assume that going to the UK was just you just sign a few forms and off you go. We'll be over in a month. Those years have gone. At the end of the day, it's much, much more stringent in getting in the UK. And even when you're 100% above board, it's still not that easy anyway. They're actually delaying stuff on purpose, especially when they're trying to show that they're trying to reduce the figures on immigration right now. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the backgrounds that we don't see officially, but you do get stuff internally. Now, I'm not saying I've worked with a Home Office or whatever, but I know myself dealing with housing associations and local authorities. They lie to people all the time. I mean, a prime example of that was when I was a surveyor with Worcester Council. They're wanting us to make sure that these houses and apartments are available for rent, but it's a complete crap area. You know, you got heroin addicts, they can't evict out of some of them. At the same time, they're telling everyone it's family-friendly environment, and I'm getting memos telling me not to walk across the grass because of syringes. Yeah, so I do not trust the information that comes out of the government any more than anybody else these days. But I do think people are waking up to it, which is the interesting thing. I think people are being more, probably in the last year, especially with the Brexit, because I think they can see through some of it a lot more now, which is interesting. Which probably gets me on the Facebook. That Facebook's an interesting one right now. The interesting one with that in the Senate is, I think he's going to walk away from this. I get a feeling that you may find old Mark is put on some sort of committee and advisory board around privacy, because I couldn't see him actually sitting there if he hadn't already arranged some sort of slap on the wrist to make it even happen. Yeah, Dale. Yeah, as you can imagine, my ex-girlfriend's sister's boyfriend left her. Seems a big thing. If you don't mind, what other books do you like reading? I'm really into out-of-body experiences. Out-of-body experiences, not. I'm more. I read like Tom Sharp, the author of Wilt, and many other books. Some of them are not politically correct, but I do like his humor. A lot of the stuff I do read is also technical, because I do a lot of stuff on engineering side. So I spend a lot of time reading things around business management and mentoring, and a lot of technical stuff. I do like reading some of the what do you call it, the personal development things, because I do like Eat That Frog was a very good book, and I do recommend getting the audio book of that. It's good to listen to in the car. But there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, I could do a book list. There was something I was looking at doing a while back, but never got around to, because I do like reading. Like I said, the problem I've got right now is my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So I do a lot of stuff on audio books. John Parrish is with her. Hey, how's it going, John? How's things? I may have a project coming up for you, John. Nothing too exciting yet, but when I'm over in the Philippines, I've got some meetings that are coming up, so there might be actually some work that way. Completely unrelated to surveying, but definitely engineering and hands-on management side. But yeah, I mean, what have I read recently? There's a question. I think what my most recent book was. In fact, I could probably get it from here. I haven't actually read it yet. I actually bought it about 3 weeks ago. It's relating to this tsunami in Thailand. Was it Thailand? I think it's the Lost Boys or something. Hang on. Let me go and get the book. Yeah, it's Army Kids. That's my most recent book, which I haven't read yet. It's one I've been looking to read. Not a big book, but it's about the kids that survived, and talking about from survival to success is the heading on the book. But that's my latest book. Yeah, John, it's to do with the power plants. We may actually be setting some of my waste power plants up in the Philippines. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background I can't really discuss at the moment due to confidentiality agreements. But we're hoping to have some set up for Brazil, Puerto Rico, and I've got some meetings set up in the Philippines, which could actually see some launched in the Philippines as well, which for a cleanup environment thing is quite good, because you know that horrible plastic that's in the rivers and everywhere else. This will actually turn it into electricity and diesel. The same with old tires and stuff. It actually clears it up. I've never seen an old tire in the Philippines because they cut them up and glue them onto the buses. They simply glue the old tread on the new old tread on an old tire. I was going to say a new tire, old tread on a new tire, but no, they glue the old tread. If you haven't seen that before, if you look at the buses, you'll see they've got the tire, and then you'll see that there's like a line around it. They've glued another layer of tire on top of it. Yeah, John, I'm doing maintenance here from home to help them, but they don't like being criticized. Yes, a lot of people have these very specific ways of working. I do know from the guys on the shipping side that I know, they like Filipino engineers on the ships because they will follow everything to the letter. So it's very specific. So that's why a friend of mine, well, three friends of mine, like having them as engineers because it's all done a specific way and in process. So yeah, criticize maybe because they've been taught a certain way and you're trying to change something that's actually improves it, but it's not often that easy to get people to change the way they're used to working. Dale, what's your view on people being arrested in harsh third world countries like the Philippines? I would have to say it depends. There's certain things that I've learned over my time in the Philippines. First one being that there's a lot of fake arrests in the Philippines in the sense that the crimes weren't actually committed, or there is actually a quick arrest for media coverage. You'll see a lot of things called like love triangles in the local newspapers when they're nothing to do with love triangles whatsoever. It's just a quick mop up for the police, which actually has, I assume, and I'll just say assume because I can say allegedly either is the same thing. A lot of innocent people get arrested for things they didn't do. Now, if you're asking me about people that actually committed the crimes and did it, whatever, they should know though. They should know the penalties before they arrive. That's my view on that. It's a bit like when you get the drug smugglers, the mules from the UK going into Thailand or whatever, and then going, oh, I'm only a backpacker. Somebody only gave me £3,000 on the free flight. I didn't know I was trafficking drugs. Those people I have no sympathy for because I'm sure I've seen things walking around in fields with more intelligence. Either they're very, very stupid, or they knew exactly what they were doing. And I would say they knew exactly what they were doing. They may have been coached into it and coerced, but ultimately they would have to be pretty bloody stupid to do something like that without understanding the risks behind it. So from my point of view on that, I would let them sit there for 5-10 years, because they shouldn't be there. They if you keep letting them out, it just encourages them to keep doing it. The power plants they're already working. There's already one built in Kosovo. We've got several, I think there's 102 or 112 of them in India. But the new one's actually a lot more efficient. So this is why I want to get the one that opened over in the Philippines. I'll probably start with Cebu first. I need to lock a deal in there first. But the good thing now is we've actually managed to get the plant sizes down. If nobody knows what I'm talking about, it's the power plants that we're building at the moment. The power plants actually recycle, they reuse old plastics and old tires. A lot of people don't realize the amount of plastics that cannot be recycled. This is why you end up with so much junk in the rivers and whatever. A lot of plastics aren't suitable for recycling. The power plants actually turn this into electricity, diesel, black carbon, replenish the plastic. What do you call it? Recover the metals out the tires as well. And we've got power plants the biggest one we do is 36 tons, and we've now just about finished by November our first 10-ton plants, which means they're quite small, which means they can be used in multiple places, much more, a lot cheaper, easier to make accessible for smaller locations. And one of the things I'd be interested on this is actually setting it up on somewhere that's got a current where it actually scoops the plastics and basically just keeps throwing them into the system. That way you actually clean in the oceans at the same time, which is another thing I'm very, very into. You know, at the end of the day, I think this is one of the things that Duterte is getting some hassle over at the moment, is the relationship to shutting Boracay down. But ultimately, I do think there is problems all over the Philippines, and one of the things I do want to try and meet up with some important people a bit with is actually doing this, because this will actually help with the big problems. At the same time, it'll actually generate some local electricity, can give free diesel. When I say free, it comes out the process, and pretty much to the benefit of the entire communities, and be profitable as well, which is the other important bit. Dale, yeah, I imagine the nerves the drug smugglers have at the airport. You feel the fear. Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand why they do it. I mean, I did bump into somebody years ago with Eric Cable. We ended up at a party years ago with a guy that used to take stuff up by boat out of South America. Now, we just ended up at this random party. Didn't know the guy, but the point being is he'd already done it for years and already a retired multimillionaire, but he'd had a few drinks and explaining what he used to do, because obviously now he's already finished, you know, but he used to take it all up by boat. But the whole point is these sort of things exist, but that guy knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't accidentally doing this. It wasn't, oh, hang on, I just found this in my backpack or something, or they've got it in their stomachs or whatever. You know, they know exactly what they're doing. So it's not something I could actually say, you know what, oh, shock, horror, this poor person didn't know what they're doing. They knew exactly what they're doing. If they come from a poor background or something, you can consider that, take that into consideration. But the ones out of the UK, no, it's definitely not going to be something that's going to justify nothing more than a free holiday and a lot of spending money. You know, at the end of the day, they're not building a new house, they're not paying for a treatment or something else. It's a free holiday. John, on the news last night, and apparently someone has come up with a chemical that breaks down the plastics to almost nothing in the sea. Yeah. The problem you've got with the plastics, though, is they've got down to such a small size now that they're getting into the food chain, and this is one of the major issues with it. And the other thing is, if it breaks the plastics down, you need to understand what we're replacing it with. You know, at the end of the day, it's breaking it down to something. But what chemicals are being used? What quantities of chemicals? The advantage with the plants is you're actually removing it. It's not leaving it in the seas and oceans. It's getting rid of it, which is the main reason I'm. Yeah. What's your view on Filipinos and their love flatulence? Serious, my ex used to fart constantly without caring. Maybe the food. I love adobo. The fart stuff. Yeah, fart's normal. I think in Japanese culture, farts are normal as well. I think burping after meals also complimentary. Yeah, Jumbo, plastic rice. Yeah, plastic rice, another story, but yeah, that's another one. I think they found some down in Naga. But yeah, the farting, I think, is something that may seem a little bit strange in the first relationships or first few days. But I think people farting, yeah, as long as it's not during sex, then that might be a bit off-putting, I think. But but generally, it doesn't really, you know. I mean, we don't really have that issue, you know. But yeah, I could definitely understand it if you suddenly like just got a waft of air and thought, we haven't got a dog. Where the hell did that smell come from? But yeah, it is quite normal in the Philippines for women to fart openly and not even batter an eyelid. It's just like, yeah, yep, I did it. That's it. Yeah, Dale. Yeah, I didn't know how careless they are about it. My ex done it a lot. Yeah, a lot of women do it. A lot of women. It's very, very normal. It's not always quiet either. It's not like a puff of air. There. Sometimes you can have the or something much louder. Yeah, it's definitely something that occurs quite openly, and people don't seem that concerned about it. Does make it a interesting dinner conversation piece, though. Yeah, yeah, John. I'm not saying that on my mic. So, yeah, during sex, unfortunately, it happened to me. She turned around and brushed it off. Oh, that reminded me of an article I read a while back about a guy farting in his girlfriend's face as a joke. But all I will say is sweet corn was involved, and he was naked at the time. But it was I can't remember where I read it. It was just something that I remember reading and thinking, no, but he did. His girlfriend was asleep on the sofa, and he thought it'd be funny to fart on her face, and he had a bit of a sweet corn incident. Chris McKetchum, hi Matt. I've got a girlfriend and infant son in the Philippines at the moment. I'm struggling to get a 18,600 salary job. Thinking about talking to your local MP. Think it's a good idea. I would approach them. They are probably not going to do a lot for you. There's a lot of people that are in a similar situation. There are groups in Facebook. If you look for the SS groups, which is for the Schengen route, and look for Schengen route as well. There's groups on there. But yeah, I know that threshold's a bit of a pain. I mean, threshold's not an issue for me, but I can understand. I mean, myself, I begrudge giving the UK money because I pay enough in bloody tax when I'm there to actually justify being able to afford my ability to look after my own family when I've done it, well, over a decade now. But I've always paid my way anyway. It's just a bizarre thing. But yeah, look for the Schengen groups because they actually have a lot of information on how to get things done. Also, the stuff that's ongoing as well. David Bloor is a good guy to look at as well. He actually wrote a ebook on the Schengen route as well. But definitely worth having a chat in the groups because they can advise you. Because even with people going through the Schengen route, they're hitting these problems relating to not being recognized as having a family life in the country they had before they went to the UK. You may not even have heard of the Schengen route, or have you? Chris, SS groups, okay. Oh, you mean Surinder Singh? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's a lot of helpful people in there, and they're all at different stages. They've got different paperwork processes and stuff. Yeah, the Schengen route. Schengen route is where you move somewhere else in Europe, and then you hop over to the UK afterwards. Basically, you live in another country for 3 or 4 months. You resettle there as a family. They have rights to be with you because you have your EU citizenship, at least at the moment. And then you basically set up with things like get a job locally, rent a house, what else to get? Join the local library, show proof of moving there, all those sort of things. And then once you've got all that done and dusted, you then apply to go over to the UK. And like myself, we were all, my wife and me and the kids are all Spanish residents. So we could actually just fly to the UK tomorrow if we wanted to. Well, within 12 hours, after 12 hours, minimum flight is 12 hours. But the point being that you can take that route where you just go for 3 or 4 months, Flying into Europe, you can do under the Schengen rules, which allows you to have your partner and your child actually travel on holiday with you within Europe, within the Schengen area. Within the Schengen area, you can then settle in one of the countries that are in the Schengen area, as long as it's not your home country, which is obviously the United Kingdom, which isn't Schengen anyway. And then you have rights of access as freedom of movement within the EU. That's basically how it works. John Parrish, I'm buying a caravan in Essex soon, Matt. In Essex. So we may have a base when visiting. I'm thinking of doing a few months a year there for the sake of sanity. We'll keep you posted. Yeah, I mean, I've got to go over to the UK at some point myself, because I've been invited to a few blockchain conferences and things, and I keep going, yeah, I'll come to the next one and things, and I haven't been into the UK for ages. But yeah, I've got to get over, because there's a few people I need to see. Yeah, I fancied France or Spain, but worried about Brexit. I don't think Brexit is going to make any difference, to be honest. Spain definitely not. France, I'd be a bit, don't know. Depends on the fallout on that. But Spain's quite happy for the Brits to bring all their money here. It doesn't want to upset the tourism. It doesn't want to upset the house buyers. There's a lot of, I mean, the funny thing is they're saying there's this mass exodus, but at the same time, I'm reading an article today that the amount of money that's coming into Spain from house buyers from the UK, because they're buying up a lot of cheap properties. So the media needs to make up their mind what's what. Chris McKetchum, sounds very similar to the SS. It is very similar. It is the SS route. It's the Schengen route. Surinder Singh is very similar. That's what it's based on. But if you look for the SS groups, you'll get a lot of information. There's some for Spain, some for France, all over the place. But they would definitely be able to help you with the immigration side, because they're all at different stages. So you've got people's responses for this week, last month, 6 months ago, and all the processes they had to go through for everything that was needed. They're very helpful groups, because everyone's in the same predicament. So it's pretty good and worth doing. John Price, nothing wrong with Essex, mate. No. Well, I've been to Essex a few times. I haven't stopped there very long. Normally there for working, so normally in some working in the area, so I don't normally get to see too much of excitement, because we're normally inside the Premier Inns. Premier Inns, they should do club cards for Premier Inn. I'd be like a VIP member. Dale, I noticed when in the Philippines, not everyone there, however, I noticed racism towards black people by some who, about their dark skin, also a dislike towards China about an island which China claims. The China island thing is actually tied in with the Aquinos. Now, my personal view is I think they actually sold it. That's my personal opinion. I think they sold it. They withdrew the Philippines troops and allowed China to settle their own troops in there. If they'd left the Filipinos on there, the Chinese wouldn't even be there now. But yeah, that's a big issue with the Chinese. That's where the dislike comes from on there. But they forget a lot of the Taipans, the Chinois are in very influential and powerful ventures and controls of the Philippines. You know, most of the most powerful people are either from Spanish descendants or from Chinese. You know, at the end of the day, those are the powerful families in the Philippines. So it's, how they can disconnect themselves from it is beyond me. Now the black people, they're actually talking about the decline in the Philippines relating to the original Filipinos that are much darker skinned than the majority of Filipinos that you meet today, which are more of it tanned rather than of a darker skin, because they're like dying out, because they're quite simply, they're not, Yeah, I mean the whole skin color issue I find completely bizarre, but it's not just the Philippines. China does it, Japan does it, and the bizarre thing is, in a lot of parts of Asia, they want to be white, and in the West, people want to be tanned. It's really weird. You know, it shows you how well marketing can work in a manipulative way. But yeah, it's a very strange thing. Yeah, Chris, I do recommend get in touch with the groups. They'll be able to help you definitely, because they'll be able to update you on all the changes and the problems, the hurdles relating to the SS route and the Schengen route. Um, yeah, it's a very strange one, and I don't understand the whole issue around the color. But it's also why you'll see a lot of people with umbrellas during the days to keep the sun off them. Now, I can understand from getting a hot point of view, which would be my point of view, but you'll hear a lot of people saying it so they don't get tanned, which I find completely strange. You know, I've got to admit, we've got a lot of Filipino friends here where we are in Spain, and I'll be honest, nobody cares. You know, at the end of the day, it's funny when people come out of their own cultural backgrounds, and you can have two gay guys going to the market here, one wearing a pink hat which is covered in sequins, and they've got a pink shopping trolley, and nobody batters an eyelid. You know, do what you like, nobody cares. And as such, like getting a tan, nobody cares. It's normal here. You do what you like. You know, it's just so laid back and casual. Okay, mate. John's off to walk the dog. Catch you later, mate. Take it easy. Dal, yeah, mate. I had no idea how much white skin was admired until I went to the Philippines. It's seen as yeah, a lot of people want to be white. I don't understand it myself. Because I've always been fairly tanned myself. Because even back in the early '80s, I was living in Hong Kong as a child, so I've always had a tan. You know, I've never actually been white, if you know what I mean. For considering my actual nationality, well, where I was born and my parents come from is actually Glasgow in Scotland. I should actually be more of a milk bottle tone, but I've always had some form of tan. Yeah, that's it. Automatically guapo because you've got pale skin. Yeah, that's it. But it's also an opener for a conversation as well, saying everybody's handsome. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up for tonight because I'm getting a sore throat now. So, but it's been great speaking to everybody. It's good to have a few people on here tonight. Callie Sunderland. Bad time. I'm just about to head to bed because nearly 2 a.m. here. But catch me on the next one. So take it easy, and everyone have a great evening, great morning, or great afternoon. Take care.